The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
Wait a minute, the train is coming right now. We can't start off with a train break, can we?
Train break. Oh, it's the Amtrak.
It is. It'll be shortly.
This is a train break.
Oh, that is a very short train. Someone blasted me around when I was walking over to your house, too. Like, really loud right in my ear. It was awful.
Oh, all right. That was a good train break. Starting right off the bat with that, baby. Here we are on episode 21, I believe, of the Warren and
Yes.
Bradley Show. We didn't even get to the intro before the train break happened. I am one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
And I'm the other host, Warren Van.
Well, it was quite an eventful weekend. Breaking news, Bradley Victor attacked by street toughs on the streets of Bellingham.
I do remember this.
I went out on Saturday night with Warren and
Yes.
several other people. We are friends in real life. This isn't just an
we're
amazing
just
ruse.
paired by our agents to do the show.
You guys have chemistry. Had a good night. It was one of our friends' birthday pub crawl action
Yes.
going on, our good friend Michael. And so we were just going from bar to bar to bar, drinking and carrying on and such.
Michael wanted to, like, go to many bars.
He wanted to go to mini bars that we don't normally go to.
Yes.
Which was both good and bad. I guess it broadens your horizons at some point, but it's also, there's reasons why we don't go to some of
that's
these
true.
bars.
Yeah.
But anyway, I came into the proceedings a little late, and so didn't really have very much to drink. In fact, by the end of the night, I was pretty much completely sober.
Tragic.
Most people were very, very, very drunk, and a lot of people were going to go to an after party, and I decided I just wanted to go home. There was a friend who was a bit inebriated, and so I said, hey, I'll walk you home, which I did.
What a gentleman.
I'm quite a gentleman, a classy gentleman. And by the way, to speak to that classiness, I was also wearing a suit, which
That's very classy.
I do on occasion.
Yes.
I like to dress up a little bit, wear a suit and tie. So I dropped this girl off at her home and proceeded to walk towards my house. And as I was walking down the street, it was probably 2:30 in the morning, something like that, pretty late. I see a car approaching me. And as the car drives by, I hear someone from within the car go, "That guy's wearing a suit." And then, "Faggot!"
Listeners of the show will be used to hearing this yelled at Brad.
We've mentioned the fag calling many times in the past. And it's funny, though, because earlier that evening, I was outside a bar, Caps, a local bar, and there's also this dance club right near Caps that it draws more of the college bro kind of crowd.
Yes.
And as that club was getting out, there was a whole stream of these doofuses walking by going like, "Oh, man, you look good, man. Oh, yeah, you're a pimp. You a pimp." And people coming and, like, straightening my tie and, like, brushing fake lint off my shoulder and things like that. So I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Appeals to a large demographic here. But apparently these guys were not pleased with the suit. Yelled faggot. I just did the thing I always do where I just do an offhand flip off over my shoulder and just kept walking. Didn't expect anything more to come of it. But then I hear the car screech to a halt. I look over my shoulder. They're performing a U-turn and saying, "Yeah, that's right. We're coming back, bitch."
Oh, no.
Okay. So I just kept walking nonchalantly because that's just sort of my mode of operation.
Yeah.
I pretend that nothing bothers me. They pulled up beside me, jumped out of the car, started jumping around, doing the, yeah, what are you going to do, huh? Yeah, bring it, bitch. Yeah, faggot, skinny faggot, what are you going to do? And this went on for a good 30 seconds or so while I just kind of looked at them. And then finally, one of them got up the nerve to come at me and actually swing and try to punch me. And he sort of hit me kind of on my shoulder. Mm-hmm. And so then I realized that I actually would have to hit some of them, or both of them.
Oh, no.
And so I don't know how long the melee lasted, probably like 15 seconds or something.
Yeah.
But it ended up with me taking a pretty solid one to the cheek, and I knocked one guy down on his ass, and then the other guy I hit square in the nose.
Oh,
and
nice.
He bled quite profusely from his nose. And after that, they got back in their car and drove off.
What were they saying as they drove off? Were they yelling faggot still?
No, they didn't really say anything to me. It was just kind of... This has happened to me before when there was a time in college where somebody tried to beat me up, some really drunk frat boy, when I was walking home from a party near campus. And he was beating a garbage can.
Yeah.
He was very angry at the garbage can.
No, who isn't?
And as I walked by, he said, "What the fuck are you looking at?" And picked the garbage can up and threw it at me.
Oh, no.
And missed. And then he
like
came and
Donkey
tried...
Kong.
Yeah, exactly. I went, and jumped over it. And then he came at me and was so drunk that he was basically completely incapacitated. And so I hit him once, and he fell down on the ground and was just sort of like, like just looked kind of sad.
Yeah.
And it was like I wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
And so I just walked off. And it was sort of like that with these guys. There was like like melee for a second, and then they just kind of went, all right, like got back in their car and drove off. I think the fact that I fought back at all, perhaps,
yeah,
took
maybe
the
that
fun out
surprised
of
them.
the whole.
Yeah.
And then, so of course, I got home. I had that cool adrenaline rush where I was like, like ran inside my apartment and was feeling pretty good about myself. Went and looked in the mirror, and when it first happened, my cheekbone, I have pretty prominent cheekbones to begin with.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the left cheekbone was starting to swell, so I was like, ooh, maybe I'll get a black eye going here.
Oh, boy.
So I gave it about a half hour. Went and looked in the mirror again. I was like, all right, that looks pretty good. So I tried to take a lot of pictures because I wanted to post something on Facebook later. Took a lot of good pictures. Next day, posted it on Facebook just to brag to people that I had like gotten in a fight and defended myself, and also hoping for attention because that's it's fun. And it turned into this thing where people were like, that was gay bashing.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think they really thought I was gay. Because we've discussed this before. The whole fag calling situation is usually... They know they're doing that because they think that's insulting, where I'll be like, what'd you call me? Call me a fag? What?
Yeah, but it's using that in a pejorative way.
Yeah, but... I mean, they say, okay, it's a hate crime, but it's somebody trying to beat somebody up, so doesn't that make it a hate crime automatically?
Well, let's say you had just come back from Acapulco or something.
Okay.
You're extremely tan.
Yes.
These two guys drive by and call you the N-word and come back and attack you.
Then I would...
Is that a hate crime?
I would assume that probably was motivated by my extremely dark tan.
You really, it was very leathery at this point. Because they thought, but I know what you mean though.
Yeah.
I don't think they attacked you because they thought you were gay, but they were calling you faggot to insult you, right?
Yeah, like
That's
that,
supposed to be the greatest burn ever.
Exactly, because
them
that I would
calling
be
each other
insulted
that
by
would be like the greatest
Right.
insult ever. Yeah.
And you never have time to explain to them, like, no, I am not gay. And even if I were, I would not consider that an insult.
Well, yeah, you can't get that sophisticated
No.
with them. You're like, at the same time, you're like, wait, I'm not gay. And they're like, oh, I see, I don't want to beat you up now. And you're like, wait a second. You don't feel any better about that, right? Because you're like, you're going to beat me up? You're going to beat some gay person up?
Well, it's just the go-to thing for them to... Like, I've seen, like, douchebag bros beating on each other before in the streets, and it's faggot
Yeah.
the whole time. Like, they don't really think that they're fags.
I think it's like the crowning insult,
I guess.
amongst bros.
that you're not a man.
Yeah.
somehow.
It's like...
It's almost better if they do think you are, because then if you end up hurting them, it's worse for them. Because if they think that gay people are the lowest of the low, then they've just been beaten by someone they consider the lowest of the low.
That's got to be really shameful, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Ugh, can't imagine. Going back to the other bros. Like, don't ever talk about this dude.
What'd you do last night, bro? I tried to beat up a faggot. Oh, cool. What happened, bro? He beat me up instead.
Oh, no. Terrible.
So
Again, it never happens when I'm around.
if you were around, they probably wouldn't be so quick to try
It's the
to
thing,
beat
isn't
up
it?
the
Because
faggot.
I'm the large menacing one.
This is what's weird to me as well. Like, wearing a suit is faggy.
I think
Isn't that the most prototypical male thing you can wear?
Well, not now.
But it's like the male uniform is wearing a suit.
Well, it used to be.
Yeah. Do they stand outside Wall Street and go fag
No,
to every
no.
guy that walks by?
No, because if you were...
Because it's context, I guess.
It is context. And if you were, like, in the financial district in Manhattan, and they're driving down the street at that time of night, and you're walking up by in your suit, I doubt that would have happened.
I can just imagine those guys going to visit New York. They're there for some reason, and they just get so tired all the time. Like, fag. They would go insane.
But you know
Their
what it
heads would
is?
explode.
It's the fact that you're different than the other people.
Oh, I know, and that's what it is. It's different, and that's what draws anybody's attention. And if there are some drunken douchebags in a car after they've been out in a bar all night, and they feel the need to get in some sort of altercation, the person they're going to pick
You're most
is
noticeable, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
It was fun though.
Good.
It was another one of those situations where no lasting harm was done. I got to get a little aggression out.
Yeah.
That's a good story.
Why not?
Yeah.
I don't know. You used to be more into it, I know. You were always looking at fights.
I don't pick fights with people ever. Like, you've never seen me pick a fight.
No. Sometimes people are, like, eyeing you. You can tell. Like, I've been out with you for years, and, like, people are like, oh, boy, and then you're kind of like, oh, you're like, well, if they could do something, I'm going to punch them.
I don't necessarily want anything violent to happen, but I do enjoy confrontations with people. And I don't like confrontation with friends or people I like and respect, but if there's some idiot stranger who's going to act like a dick, then I will gladly throw dickitude back in their face.
That's a pretty faggoty thing to say.
That's that guy that's been throwing dickitude.
He's been throwing dickitude in all the guys' faces. I had a listener mention a question to me.
Oh, yes.
This week.
Should this be in listener feedback?
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
All right, listener feedback.
Dear Warren and Bradley, I am writing this missive to let you know that I was utterly delighted with last week's episode. Your tales of prostitutes and the indigent are always quite illuminating, and I say, could you turn off that racket? Turn it off, I say! What are you doing? Can't hear myself making this ridiculous noise.
Listener feedback on the Warren and Bradley Show.
There's a couple girls I know named Claire, and they were talking about circumcision, and they were wondering, what's the Warren and Bradley position on circumcision?
Well, I already know yours.
Oh, I do. Do I have one?
I thought you did.
What is it?
I thought you were anti.
I guess I'm more anti than pro.
Yeah.
I'm more ambivalent than anything.
Yeah.
Do you have a strong feeling about this?
Not necessarily. I think that there are pros and cons to both. I know people, or a person, who had to get circumcised late in life.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about him.
Which sounds horrible to me, because of things that were occurring, infections and things like that. And
that's a bad idea.
Well,
I mean, if you have to choose between doing it as a child or doing it as an adult.
Well, you definitely do it when you're a baby and can't remember. And then they also talk about the spread of sexually transmitted disease in Africa. When they try to circumcise people, it cuts the transmission of AIDS a lot. So those are benefits. I don't know. People talk about lack of sensitivity, lack of feeling. I don't know. I have nothing to compare it to.
That's true.
Feels fine to me.
Yeah.
Still works fine.
So let's say you have a son right now.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I don't know. The uncircumcised one looks weird.
Well, it looks weird because we...
Yeah, but there's also like,
ones.
okay, imagine you have this stupid little snot-nosed brat. He's running around. He's like 4 years old. He can barely piss in a toilet. To begin with,
Yeah.
But then he pisses, and then he just kind of like shakes it off a little bit, puts it in his pants. He's got this foreskin filled with urine all the time.
Well, you teach them how to work that thing, right?
I don't want to teach them how to work that thing. You can't.
This is why you're going to circumcise your child, because it's too inconvenient to teach them how to work his skin?
Can't. Before sexual maturity, most boys can't even get the foreskin over the top of the penis. So it's not like you're going to like poke it out like a little turtle's head and pee out of that.
Yeah.
It just dribbles out the end, and you have to like clean it out. It's
really
gross. Yeah. I mean, it's natural. It's fine. I'm sure it's fine. It's what we're used to is the circumcision, though.
So if you were like, if the mother of your child had a strong feeling either way, you'd probably just go with her.
Probably.
Yeah. That's probably would go that way.
It's not like I'd put my foot down one way or the other.
I think if I was a father when we were born, I would have gone circumcision because everybody did.
Yeah.
And it was more of a normal thing. Now I think it's swinging less circumcision. So I think if you're uncircumcised now, in 20 years, you're going to be like a lot of the other kids. You're not going to be.
Yeah, you can imagine if you have a kid 20 years ago, he grew up and started trying to have sex, women would be like, "Ow!" and screaming if they saw this weird turtleneck coming out.
Yeah.
And now I don't think that's an issue anymore.
Yeah, the terror. The terror induced by your uncircumcised penis.
Apparently, it's much easier to masturbate if you have foreskin.
No.
You don't have to worry about chafing. You can just like rub the foreskin in and out.
I still don't know how foreskin works. I don't understand it. I don't know what's going on. I have a vague picture in my mind. I do not know what it is. And you're like talking about there, and I was like trying to picture what's going on with it, but I still don't understand it.
You know what it does, and where you've never seen a picture of an uncircumcised penis?
I think I have, but I don't. I think it's just more skin on the front of it or something, right?
Well, it's like a sleeve that covers the tip when it's flaccid.
Yeah.
Then when it becomes erect, it becomes big enough that the foreskin pulls away from the tip. It's like lipstick.
So it's something that evolved because it was to protect that organ, right?
When you're running around jangling your tackle through the undergrowth, you don't want the penis to be caught in a sticker bush.
No,
so instead, the foreskin would be caught
in the sticker bush and ripped off.
That was the first circumcision.
Yes. Then someone was like, "This is great."
See, I don't know if it has the same effect. Like people talk about female circumcision, how awful that is, which I agree because it takes away a huge amount of sexual
female
feeling.
circumcision is just like misogynistic, weird thing to do, right?
Yes. If
there's anyone in the audience who can write in and defend that practice, I would like to hear it because I've never heard anyone defend that practice.
Well, the whole point of it is to make women not have sexual feeling or not as much sexual feeling, so they don't enjoy sex.
So they don't enjoy sex, so they don't like cheat on you?
So they won't be lascivious like these horrible harlots going around trying to have sex
That's
with people.
the thinking behind
That's
it, right?
basically what the thinking is.
Yeah, that's creepy.
And as far as I know, there are people who claim that male circumcision is the same thing where it completely takes away this huge amount of feeling. I'll have to tell you, my penis still seems to have a hell of a lot of feeling. As I said, I can't compare it because I have no memory of having foreskin.
Do you think, is it possible that all these uncircumcised men are just having much better sex than...
I don't know. They're probably just like... every single time they try to have sex, if that's the case.
Nice sound effect. I'm sorry the audience couldn't see your little hand motion there.
Well, okay, so the foreskin itself doesn't add a lot of feeling to it because most of the feeling is in the hood of the penis, if we want to get technical here.
Yeah.
Which we have already. That was not cut off. We still have the tip of our penis. That exists.
Yes.
So what they say is that the lack of foreskin means that it gets deadened by use.
Yes.
All the time.
Well, it's always banging against your zipper and stuff.
Yeah, but I don't really see that as an issue. I don't know. I don't know.
Doesn't seem like it, but because it's weird. This is one of those issues that people do get very passionate about, right? And we have pretty much established that we have no passion about this issue.
Not really.
No.
In fact, I had an argument with my older brother about it once. We were out drinking, and for some reason somebody brought up circumcision, and it turned into this like angry thing about it.
It's always the immigration issue is like that in politics for me. I just can't get... I don't know. It doesn't make me that angry, but people are so angry about...
I think it's people who... There are people who have been circumcised who are like, give me back my foreskin, goddammit. I never had a choice. But I really don't feel like I've been in any way shortchanged.
No. I feel like it was fine.
Yeah.
But I feel like it would have been fine the other way, too.
Yeah.
It probably would have been awkward in the locker room. People would be like, haha. And I would have been like, what are you going to do?
If there's anyone in our audience who can give us an experience of what it was like, perhaps like one of my friends who had to be circumcised later in life, could you
Is he
tell
a
us?
listener to the show?
I don't know. I don't think so.
You know who you are.
Yeah. If you are listening and you would like to write in anonymously, even though we would
We'll
know that
know
you're
who
the
you
person,
are.
we won't mention you on air. If you can tell us what sex was like during foreskin and
Yeah.
after foreskin, I'm sure our listeners
Well, he's
would
the
love
one
to hear
that,
it.
yeah, he's the one that would know, right?
Yeah. Or if
'Cause
there's anybody else out there who's had the same kind of thing happening.
Had that happen, or even if there's, I guess if there are people with foreskins, they wouldn't have any idea if
Yeah.
they were having a better time than we are. Fascinating.
All right. Well, there you go. Foreskin.
This has been listener feedback on the Warren and Bradley Show. If you'd like to get in touch, send your questions, comments, and concerns to podcast@warrenandbradley.com.
All right, this is going to be a very listener feedback heavy episode because we have even more, but this goes under the heading of Street Freak of the Week.
They wander the streets, scavenging for loose change and discarded cigarette butts.
Bear $1.
Man, give me a motherfucking cigarette.
I ran out of gas ways back.
You smoke weed, don't you?
Good in the car.
I could use some change.
They may be mentally unstable and deserving of our charity, but that doesn't mean they can't be selected as the Warren and Bradley Show Street Freak of the Week.
All right, this missive is from a listener who wants to remain anonymous, so we will call her Susan. And Susan writes in to tell us about something that happened to her at her workplace. So,
Yeah.
she wanted to remain anonymous because she doesn't want anyone from her work knowing that she's talking about things happening at work, even though I don't see this as being particularly damning or anything. But basically, apparently there are lots of homeless people who come into her work and just kind of wander in off the street. They live
That's
on a
nice.
busy street. Yeah, it's good for business. One day in particular, she was waiting for her coworker to come in and relieve her, and her coworker's late. She's wondering what was going on, so she ran into the reception area, and there was a crazy... Why are you holding your microphone? You can't do that. You'll hear all the noise. Put it back. Put it back.
Sort of.
You could hear, like, anything you do. Okay. Okay, here we go. So, she's writing that... We'll just leave this. It's fine. So one day in particular, she was waiting for one of her coworkers to come in and relieve her on the job.
Yeah.
And her coworker was late. She was wondering what was going on. So she runs into the reception area to see where the coworker is. And there's a crazy, frizzy-haired homeless person just ranting and raving about how the government owes her millions of dollars. She's just gesticulating wildly, slurring her speech. The receptionist is like, freaking out, wondering what's going on. So our listener, Susan, takes it upon herself to escort this homeless person out the door because she apparently likes kicking the crazies out of the office.
No, who doesn't?
So she just inserts herself between the receptionist and the crazy homeless woman and basically just bodily forces her through the door, all the while she's ranting and raving and screaming about how the government owes her money because of stomach pains. Finally, she kicks her out the door. She runs to a giant shopping cart filled with shit and puts a wig upon her head and moseys on down the street, which is a nice touch.
The wig is a really nice touch.
And this story put me in mind of actually a vintage Street Freak of the Week. This happened to me years ago when I used to live in Los Angeles. I worked at a Barnes & Noble that was near a mall, like a major mall in West Hollywood. Every morning before work, I would go to Starbucks. I'd get a cup of coffee, sit down at a table, read, smoke, and watch all the crazy homeless people who frequented this area. Yeah, because it was, it was a zoo, basically. There was one guy in particular who was very large, grizzled, imposing, who wore spurs, a large duster coat, and a Stetson hat, had a big handlebar mustache.
A cowboy.
He looked like a cowboy.
Yeah.
We called him the cowboy.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're very creative and clever that way.
Apparently so.
And he was always just there writing in this notebook. And every once in a while I'd walk by and I'd look over his shoulder and I would see this psychotically tiny, perfectly straight, like insanely neat writing. And he would just fill page after page after page after page. And finally, as the months passed and he became more comfortable with my presence, I guess he decided that he would unburden himself a little bit to me. And so he came up to me one day, just like ponderously lowered himself into the chair at my table and just started talking about how he was suing Steve Martin for millions and millions of dollars for plagiarism. Oh. And as he talked about the case that he had and the lawyers and the case they were going to make in federal court.
It has to be a very complicated case.
Oh, it was very complicated. He started talking about how Steve Martin was also a Satanist and performed ritualistic sacrifices. Ooh. He would rape young girls. Oh. And these were all in the court documents that he was writing. Yeah. That was his notebook, was filled with these court documents.
I don't know what that has to do with his plagiarism case. But...
No, but apparently it was more personal. It wasn't just a legal issue with him. He actually hated Steve Martin and the evil that he represented. Oh, yeah. And the weird thing about this guy is that he was very reasonable the whole time he was talking. He wasn't like he wasn't yelling or screaming.
Yeah, he was just like saying
these
things.
Very matter of
fact.
fact.
The things he was saying was crazy, but the way he was saying them were...
Which almost made it more disturbing.
Yeah.
And he was there probably a good 20 minutes talking to me while I was trying to take my break. And then on other days, as he warmed up to me even more, he found out somehow that I was in a band, and so he brought in this song that he had written for me.
That's nice.
Called Every Dog Has Its Day. And it
Maybe you will.
Yeah, perhaps. There was no music. It was just lyrics. It was like, the dog's looking for his bone. The dog doesn't have a home. Every dog will have his day. Blah, 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 blah. And then every once in a while he would see me and ask me if my band had performed the song. And I would always be like, we're still working on trying to get the proper instrumentation. And be like, oh, yeah, you don't want to ruin that one.
No, it's a keeper.
So, lost track of him. I moved away.
You guys
didn't keep in touch
when you moved away?
And later, years later.
Yeah.
How far is Bellingham from Los Angeles?
Oh,
1,400
no,
miles?
Me.
Bellingham.
Especially on a horse. It's a long ways.
I was walking by the bakery.
Oh, my God.
Saw the cowboy moseying down the street. He did not acknowledge me, luckily, because I was worried that he was going to either tell me about the update on his Steve Martin case or ask me if I had performed that Every Dog Has His Day song. But that was one of the creepiest, weirdest, strangest coincidences that I had ever seen in my life.
Way out of context. There's like no way you should be seeing... Yeah. If seeing anyone you knew from Los Angeles randomly walking on the street in Bellingham would be shocking. The crazy cowboy homeless guy getting to Bellingham... Oh, it does make sense considering this is apparently like the nexus of the homeless world. So
it is the nexus of the universe as far as homeless people are concerned,
and serial killers.
Serial killers. Everyone postulates that it's because it's like the last kind of city before the Canadian border.
You can't. There's water, and then there's a border, so you can't get away. Yeah.
I don't know what they're running from.
Steve Martin, apparently, in his Satanist ways.
So we thank listener Susan for sending in her Street Freak of the Week, and we also thank me for recounting my Street Freak
thank you. Thank yourself.
So I guess we'll give Street Freak of the Week goes to Crazy Cowboy Homeless Man.
Let's do it.
Congratulations, Crazy Cowboy Homeless Man. You've been selected as the Street Freak of the Week.
Our hats are off to you, Mr. Homeless Man, because you've been selected as the Warren and Bradley Show Street Freak of the Week.
Guess what time it is, Warren?
Celebrity Minute time?
That is absolutely correct.
Ooh.
Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Yes, indeed. And of course, the top story has to be the coming nuptials between Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. They're finally going to tie the knot, Worm.
Oh, it's about time. They've only have like 18 children.
1,200?
It's too many.
I don't think this is a surprise to anybody. What's surprising is that the media seems to think it's such a shocking and newsworthy story.
How can you get interested in this? Who cares? Isn't everyone burned out on them by now?
They're still sufficiently famous that people are going to pay attention to their lives, definitely. But I don't know. There's even a story I saw here somewhere where it was basically talking about the fact that news stories about the story about them getting married were going to cause a furor. So they're talking about a news story about a news story about something that I don't know. it's getting
about
very,
something that's not even really news.
No.
Yeah,
It's getting very
that's
meta
great.
and weird and crazy. There was something I did want to read out to you, Warren, that I think will catch your interest.
Oh, good.
Basically, supposedly, Brad Pitt has designed the ring by himself. He had a specific vision.
It's getting late in Skid Row around here.
Oh, my lord. Brad had a specific vision for this ring, which he realized over a year-long collaboration. Procop, the ring's designer, told THR. He wanted every aspect of it to be perfect, so I was able to locate a diamond of the finest quality and cut it into an exact custom size and shape to suit Angelina's elongated fingers. Brad was always heavily involved, overseeing every aspect of the creative design evolution. The side diamonds are specially cut to encircle her finger. Each diamond is of the highest gem quality.
Can you imagine Brad Pitt just lurking over the ring maker,
No.
like watching this for a year?
I'm imagining some like 19th century jeweler, like I don't know, in the diamond district of Amsterdam or something, and he's there like polishing stones and everything. It just shut the fuck up. He went into some place, went yeah. And
Went to
like,
Jared,
Yeah.
the gallery of jewelers. And,
so everybody's really excited. Warren, you're not that excited?
no, I have no enthusiasm for this story.
All right, let's go to the next story. Guns N' Roses jams way into Rock Hall of Fame, but without Axl Rose. We can
Yeah.
only assume that Axl was too busy, I don't know, shaving
Too busy
strange.
missing something else because he just misses things constantly. He doesn't show up for things.
Apparently he's pretty reclusive and just a freaking weirdo, as far
Yeah.
as we can tell. I always think about how much money they could have made if he weren't so ridiculously crazy.
I mean, it's probably true. But I mean, at a certain point, who cares? I mean, I'm sure like Keith Richards has lots of money.
Somebody's like killing a bobcat outside or something. I don't know what's happening right now.
But you know what I mean? Like, Keith Richards has tons of money, probably
Yeah.
more money than Axl Rose.
Yeah.
Does it make any difference to Axl Rose's life?
I don't know if he has a ton of money.
I'm sure he still has a ton of money.
Axl Rose?
Oh, yeah.
Because apparently he spends like a weird motherfucker. I mean, the whole thing when he was trying to write Chinese Democracy and it was taking forever and ever and ever for it to come out,
Yeah.
apparently when it finally did come out, it was because basically that's when he had run out of money. And he was like, okay, I will finally release this album after 14 years or however long it took. So I don't know. Just
But he
stop
gets
being
lots
a
of
weirdo.
royalties from all those great songs, right?
Yeah, great songs.
Guns N' Roses sucks. And you know what else sucks? The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
It does suck. I
a
don't.
pointless institution.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that maybe he's not acting like a weirdo by not going to the induction ceremony, because who gives a fuck if you're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? It usually means that you are.
Well, this is one of those things where, like, a stop clock is like right twice a day. You know what I mean? He skipped
yeah.
this, but it's not because he's like disrespecting the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's just because he doesn't show up to anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Axl Rose news, there were rumors that singer Lana Del Rey and him were dating.
Oh.
But apparently, Axl Rose is not dating Lana Del Rey, says Guns N' Roses guitarist. DJ Ashba tells everyone that he's convinced the two are just friends, even though they left the Chateau Marmont together this weekend. But Lana Del Rey was recently spotted wearing a Guns N' Roses t-shirt and looking coy.
Who the hell is DJ Ashba? Is it a DJ or a guy named DJ Ashba?
I think it's DJ Ashba.
Like he gets on the stage.
I think
and
he's
spins
the one that
records?
replaced Slash because Axl thinks Slash is pure evil.
Oh, does he?
Did you ever hear that quote?
Really?
Have you ever seen Slash interviewed?
No.
I mean, he's weird.
Yeah.
He looks odd.
Yeah.
But he seems really nice. I don't see him as being
Actually, now
evil.
you mentioned
This is weird. It's a train break in the middle of a Celebrity Minute. Two features are coming together like never before.
This is a train break.
Oh, that was a good train
All
break.
right.
Our last story, Morgan Freeman.
I'm not marrying my step-granddaughter.
A quote nobody wants to have to say at any point in their life.
Like I'm not having sex with my foster child from East Asia. Yeah, apparently there's been rumors that for years he's been dating his step-granddaughter, who's only 27. He's 74.
When I saw this story, I'd heard about that.
You
years ago. I
assumed
thought
that
it was
they were
true.
dating,
I knew this.
yeah.
I thought this was true. I thought
Yeah.
people just knew this was a fact.
I don't know. They're not related by blood, so who the fuck cares? I
well.
mean, it's weird. Yeah, it's fucking weird.
You can say that about a lot of things, and it's still not okay.
I guess.
Oh, good for him, then.
And this has been Celebrity Minute.
The saddest end to Celebrity Minute ever.
This has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
I guess we should go into listener feedback part 2, because we had another missive from a listener. This listener is named Jed. He wrote into our Facebook page, and he says this: had a thought today of a topic for discussion: surviving in prison. How do you think you would do? Any particular strategies you think you would adopt? What would you think difficult or easy to deal with? The guards, gangs, sexual predation, snitching, the yard, the hole, etc. This is a good topic.
It's a very good
something
topic.
that actually we could suck a lot of marrow out of.
Well, the thing I always think about when I see like movies about prison and stuff, and
Yeah.
they talk about the gangs, you know.
Yeah.
You got to join a gang. Got to join a gang, and it's like, I don't want to be in the white supremacist gang.
And that's pretty much your only option.
And you really have to do that?
I don't know. It depends on where you go to jail.
Yeah.
If we were in state prison in Washington, I don't know if it would be as necessary to strap up with the gang and declare allegiance.
If we were like in California or
If
something.
we were in like Pelican Bay or somewhere horrible in California, then that might be more necessary.
Because the impression you get is that it's like you don't have a choice. Everyone, if you don't join one of the gangs, everyone will just kick your ass.
Yeah, and rape you constantly.
Yeah. So you're like, well, then I guess you have to, right? You're like, I'll join the white
Okay,
supremacist
so
gang.
let's play this out here. So first of all, what crime have we committed? Apparently, we're going to be incarcerated together at the same time.
Because the judge is like, we can't stop the podcast. They
No.
have to still record.
This will be
It'd be a
too
crime
cruel and
against
unusual.
humanity
Yes.
for us to stop recording.
So we have to be sentenced for something that would make us would cause us to actually have to serve state prison time, because this is state prisons where you get the crap kicked out of you
Yeah.
constantly and they're the most awful. So we murder somebody.
Yeah,
what
we
do we
murder
do?
somebody.
What do you think is most likely for us to? What kind of crime would be most likely for us to commit?
Well, maybe we murder some of our podcasting competition.
That's possible. They trace the crime back to us, probably because we discussed it on the podcast.
Yeah.
They listened and they're like, okay, they killed these people. They find physical evidence. You like wrote your name in blood at the crime scene. So
There's so much semen everywhere.
I know, we just like ejaculated all over everything.
We shouldn't have done that.
And shaved our heads at the crime scene. So basically, we're dead to rights. We're caught. We're both going to get 20 years to life.
Yeah.
And for some reason, because of, the venue, we couldn't have the trial in Washington, and we couldn't serve time in Washington because the jury would be biased, because they all listen to the show. They love the show. And so they had to make us go to California to have the trial and to serve time. This is all completely plausible.
This has been a really prejudiced jury pool. If they have to send us all the way to California.
Most of them have heard of us there as well, but they don't have an opinion one way or
Yeah,
the other.
yeah.
So it's the first day.
Yeah.
The first day. It's your first day of prison. You are pretty large already.
Yes.
People who don't know our physical stature, Warren, you're 6'3".
Yeah.
Big. How much do you weigh?
Like 270.
Always been strong, like just naturally weirdly strong all the time growing up. I am about 6'2" and probably weigh 160 something, like in between 165, 170.
You're a
I'm not
scrawny
sure.
little guy.
Yeah, it's not scrawny.
We'll see
Wiry,
what the other
ropey.
prisoners think.
That's what the word is. You get thrown in the first day. You get strip search. They shove a glove up your ass. I don't know if they still do that delousing thing. I like
Shove
that.
a glove up your ass.
Well,
See, they
the
look
hand
with
is in it too at the same time.
initiation. Yeah, they search you for contraband.
Yeah.
You have to do that thing where you give them all your possessions and they sign a
Yeah.
form or whatever.
your comb.
Then I don't know, you get like a tour or something when they start?
I don't know. I don't think
Maybe
there's
it's
any
like the
sort
warden.
of. I don't know if there's an orientation period.
There probably is. They probably bring you in to like the warden.
Yeah.
And he's like, so here you are, buddy. That was the horrible crime with all the semen and hair.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, these are the rules. This is when lunch is. Like, this is when you go out to like play in the yard. And then you're like, okay. And then I guess like, you just go to a cell and you hang out.
Yeah, and so we're cellmates.
Yeah.
They were nice enough to let us bunk together, so we don't have to be worried. We don't have to worry about being raped
In our cell. Because
well, at least you don't have to worry about being raped.
well, you can watch out.
So okay, we're in our cell. People are like, "Come on, do fish, yeah!" yelling at us as we get led into our cell. They're all like, "Woo!" You know, spitting and barking and doing all this
Hucking semen at us like in Silence of the Lambs.
And so it's our first night. We're freaked out, but we get through the night. We sleep. You only try to sexually assault me several times during the night. I managed to
I don't
you
sleep
up.
much.
I'm going to learn not to sleep very much. But then it's the first day we get thrown out into the yard.
The yard's that's the problem. That's when we're going to get shipped, right?
This is where people, they divide themselves up into their gangs. They have their own little areas. They have the drug trade. It's a whole society inside the prison. First day out, you and I are together. Large, very large man comes up to you.
No.
And says, "You my bitch."
Oh, no.
What is your response, and how do you deal with this?
You go, I'm like, no. And then this is my understanding. You're supposed to do is attack the biggest person there the first time you ever go in the yard at the prison.
Right.
If that guy came up to me and did that, then you have to like go at that guy really hard.
So you have to try to beat him immediately.
You have to just like try to tear that guy's eyes out.
And how do you think
him.
that would go?
Considering I've never been in a fight before, probably not very well. But I think I can, like, I'd be hitting, and it'd be like, I'd probably get beat up, but I'd show that at least that I was, like, willing to fight, right?
Right.
So one thing you don't want to be is, like, the timid guy that's just like, well, whatever you say. You know what I mean? You have to, like, show you're resilient. I think that's your move.
So that's our first move. As soon as we get out in the yard, see, I would pick somebody who I knew I could beat up, and I would just beat the shit out of him immediately.
I don't know if that's going to get you a lot of respect.
I don't know.
Actually, but the thing about attacking, I wouldn't do that right off the bat. I'd go out in the yard, I'd just hang out and stand there very nervously.
Try to scope things out.
Wait and hope that nothing happened. Maybe if you're there long enough, like the leader of the white supremacists will approach you with an offer.
See, I really wish we knew for sure if you have to be a white supremacist. Because I don't want to be. I don't want to be... I know you can't be in any of the black gangs because you're not black. You can't be in the Hispanic gangs because you're not Hispanic.
But I think doesn't that happen sometimes? I've also heard that happens sometimes.
Well, I think maybe they can have allies, perhaps, but I don't think you'll be a full member.
And I don't know if maybe the white supremacy, and then the supremacy isn't that important. Maybe it's just the fact that all the white guys hang out,
The Peckerwoods. That's what they're called often. The gang.
Peckerwoods?
Yeah,
oh, really?
in
The
prison.
white one? Mm-hmm. What are the black people called?
I don't know. They just have the same gangs they had on the outside, basically.
Oh. Oh, I guess.
No, wait a minute.
Oh!
That sounded worse than I meant it to sound.
Oh, my. Is that going to make the podcast?
Oh, yeah, fine.
So like the Bloods and the Crips and stuff are in
I
there?
think so, and like MS-13 for the Hispanics and other gangs that they have.
Well, that's the thing, though, right? You are the minority if you're a white person.
Yeah.
Because there are more blacks and Hispanics imprisoned in there.
What are you, a racist?
Hey, I'm just calling it the way I see it, man. You know what I mean?
You will definitely be the minority, especially if you're in the California prison system.
Yeah. I just want to do anything to avoid it.
I just want to know if it's possible to be like, hey, guys, I don't want any trouble. I'm just going to mind my own business. Just want to serve my time and get out.
I think it's got to be, right?
I don't know.
Because the fictional portrayal is probably the most severe prisons and the most messed up situations. Yeah. I imagine that if you actually went to prison, you're like, I'm just going to try to like stay on the straight and narrow as much as possible and just serve this time out and try to avoid conflict as much as possible. You might be able to do it. This is a good plan, though. You become a jailhouse lawyer. You start helping people out in the prison.
Well, if you can, I think that's the one the one loophole to not be involved in the violence and all the horrible gang politics is if you have a skill that other prisoners can utilize.
Yeah.
Like you become a tattoo artist, a jailhouse tattoo artist, or you be the professor. You know, where you're supposedly the really smart guy, and people come up to you and be like, "Hey, professor, help me write up this." You know, it's like write a letter to my sweetheart.
And then you like befriend people so people will protect you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you have to have sex with people.
I'm not going to do that.
So what if there was nothing you could do? You went in there, you tried
Yeah.
to beat up the biggest guy, you failed.
Yeah.
He beat you senseless.
Yeah.
I mean, if that happened to you, I don't know what would happen to me. But basically, someone wants you to be their pillow bitch.
Yeah.
And you can't defend yourself. Would you choose to let one man keep you and only have to be violated by that one man? Or would you resist him and know that you're open to being violated by countless others?
Well, this is the Shawshank Redemption type
Yeah.
situation here. I think I would just keep fighting.
You keep fighting over and over.
I can't imagine the prisons are like that. That I'm just like getting beaten up and raped every day by different people. The guards are like, "Well, what are you gonna do?" And I'm like, "Somebody help me!"
You always hear too this thing of like, every man's gay in prison, where they're like, "Well, there's no women. I gotta bust my nut somehow. What am I gonna do?"
But that's another.
This doesn't go.
No. Well, this is why we're not in prison.
Yeah.
We probably won't be in prison. Most people that end up in prison, a lot of those people are like animals. Like
Yeah.
I was saying, they're going to beat everyone up they can. If they can't have sex with a woman, they're going to have sex with a man. They're just like...
See, and this is the sailor thing too. It's like, oh, it was a 2-year journey, and so they all end up humping each other. I haven't had sex with a woman in quite some time.
You're yet to have sex with
and
a man.
I have not had sex with a man to
Yeah.
compensate.
This is one of the great mysteries of life.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to speak to it because we've never been in these situations.
Yeah.
Maybe we start having sex with men. I can't imagine a point.
Don't see it happening.
But then people say about prison, what's going on in prison is that they're establishing a hierarchy,
Yeah.
right? And it has more to do with that. It's
Well,
like a
I'm sure-
power thing.
well,
that's what like
Rape
that's
is
a rape
always
is a
about
power. It's a
asserting
weird power thing.
violent power over
So it has
somebody.
more to do with that. So you're in this weird power hierarchy.
But
It's
there
not
are-
something for sexual
There are
need.
plenty of people who do say that, like, oh yeah, well, when I was in the inside, yeah, I turned to men because there was no other option. But now that I'm out of prison, I'm straight again. Like, it's more than just the power thing, I think. Because there's people who develop relationships and couples who say they weren't gay. Maybe they just were gay. I don't know. Let's just hope to God it never happens. Well, it looks like that's all the time we have for tonight. Again, if you want to get in touch with us, contact. We're getting loopy. We're getting loopy. If you want to get in contact with either Warren or Bradley, which is me, contact us at podcast@warrenandbradley.com. Also, go to our website, warrenandbradley.com, to see past episodes and pictures. Go like us on Facebook at facebook.com/warrenandbradley.
Do all the
and
things.
do all the things. Go to iTunes and leave reviews, people. There's a lot of people listening to this show and not a lot of people leaving reviews. We want good reviews on iTunes.
Why not?
So once again, signing off for this evening, I am one of your hosts, Bradley Victor,
And I'm the other host, Warren Van.
saying...
Keep your feet on the ground.
This has been the Warren and Bradley Show, brought to you by Warren Van and Bradley Victor. For podcast news and information, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Warren and Bradley. Follow the show on Twitter at Warren and Brad. Subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. For episode archives and episode pictures, go to warrenandbradley.com, and to contact the show, write to podcast@warrenandbradley.com.
This is a train break.
Oh!
noise too, like really loud right in my ear. It was awful.
Oh, all right. That was a good train break. Starting right off the bat with that, baby. Here we are on episode 21, I believe, of the Warren and Bradley Show. We didn't even get to the intro before the train break happened. I am one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
And I'm the other host, Warren Van.
Well, it was quite an eventful weekend. Breaking news, Bradley Victor attacked by street toughs on the shoulder and things like that. So I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Appeals to a large demographic here. But apparently these guys were not pleased with the suit. Yelled faggot. I just did the thing I always do where I just do an offhand flip off over my shoulder and just kept walking. Didn't expect anything more to come of it. But then I hear the car screech to a halt. I look over my shoulder. They're performing a U-turn and saying, "Yeah, that's right. We're coming back, bitch."
Oh, no.
Okay. So I just kept walking nonchalantly because that's just sort of my mode of operation.
Yeah.
I pretend that nothing bothers me. They pulled up beside me, jumped out of the car, started jumping around, doing the, yeah, what are you going to do, huh? Yeah, bring it, bitch. Yeah, faggot, skinny faggot, what are you going to do? And this went on for a good 30 seconds or so while I just kind of looked at them. And then finally one of them got up the nerve to come at me and actually swing and try to punch me. And he sort of hit me kind of on my shoulder. And so then I realized that I actually would have to hit some of them or both.
The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
Wait a minute, the train is coming right now. We can't start off with a train break, can we?
Train break. Oh, it's the Amtrak.
It is. It'll be shortly.
That's right. I do remember this.
I went out on Saturday night with Warren and several other people. We are friends in real life. This isn't just an amazing ruse.
Paired by our agents to do the show.
Yes, have chemistry. Had a good night. It was one of our friends' birthday pub crawl action going on, our good friend Michael. And so we were just going from bar to bar to bar, drinking and carrying on and such.
Michael wanted to go to many bars.
He wanted to go to many bars that we don't normally go to.
Yes.
Which was both good and bad. I guess it broadens your horizons at some point, but it's also there's reasons why we don't go to some of these bars.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, I came into the proceedings a little late, and so didn't really have very much to drink. In fact, by the end of the night, I was pretty much completely sober.
Tragic.
Most people were very, very, very drunk, and a lot of people were going to go to an after party, and I decided I just wanted to go home. There was a friend who was a bit inebriated, and so I said, hey, I'll walk you home, which I did.
What a gentleman.
I'm quite a gentleman, a classy gentleman. And, and by the way, to speak to that classiness, I was also wearing a suit, which
that's very classy.
I do on occasion.
Yes.
I like to dress up a little bit, wear a suit and tie. So I dropped this girl off at her home and proceeded to walk towards my house. And as I was walking down the street, it was probably 2:30 in the morning, something like that, pretty late. I see a car approaching me, and as the car drives by, I hear someone from within the car go, "That guy's wearing a suit," and then, "Faggot!"
Listeners of the show will be used to hearing this yelled at Brad.
We've mentioned the fag calling many times in the past. And it's funny, though, because earlier that evening I was outside a bar, Caps, a local bar, and there's also this dance club right near Caps that it draws more of the college bro kind of crowd.
Yes.
And as that club was getting out, there was a whole stream of these doofuses walking by going like, "Oh, man, you look good, man. Oh, yeah, you're a pimp. You a pimp." And people coming and, straightening my tie and, brushing fake lint off my